Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today we're Masechtas Yevamot daf Hey. We are going to begin on the very top of Yevamot Aleph. We were discussing in yesterday's daf, how do we know the concept of aseh is doichelos aseh? So we ended up deriving it from tzitzis. On one hand, the pasuk says lusilba shatnez. A person is not allowed to wear shatnez, which is a mixture of wool and linen. And then it says gedilim tasalach. So the fact that there's the psukim written next to each other, it comes to teach us that even though you're not allowed to wear shatnez, however, when it comes to tzitzis, you are allowed to. Now, it has to be mufna that these words are extra. And now we're going to continue in Yevamot Aleph that Teinach l'Tana Rabbi Shmuel. It's good according to Tana Rabbi Shmuel, as Rashi says up here, D'yitir leit semer pishtin. He feels that these words are extra in the pasuk, and therefore, since it's mufna, that's how you can use this drasha. However, Rabbanan menolhu. How do the Rabbanan know this concept of aseh doichelos aseh? Says Rashi, but semer pishtin lo miater. According to them, semer pishtim is not extra. It's needed to teach us the din of having wool and linen as shatnez is a prohibition. So menolhu the aseh is doichelos aseh. So how do we know, according to the Rabbanan, this concept? So the Gemara says like this: Nafkahu miroishay. We're learning it out from the fact that the pasuk says rosho. The sanya rosho, when it comes to the head of a matzaira, that he has to cut his hair. Matal b'loimer v'ishnemer lo sakifu as pas roishchem. So we know that there's a din in general that a person is not allowed to cut the corners of their hair. They're not allowed to cut off their payas. So the question is, how about this metzora? How could we ask him to shave his entire head, in which, of course, included in that are the payos? And l'chayra, that's a los aseh. So how could we allow him to do the aseh of cutting his hair when there's a los aseh? So we're going to derive from here that aseh is doichelos aseh. Shomeani af metzora kain. You would think that metzora also falls in this category that he's not allowed to cut his payas. Talmud Lama Rosho. No, he has to cut off all of his hair. And therefore, as Rashi says, Yigalech es kol sa'aro, harosh b'chlal, lo muli d'chsiv roisho. So again, it's going to tell you everything. Because savar haitana hakafas kol harosh shmo hakafa. That it's cutting off all of the hair is hakafa, says Rashi. The itzrach le rosho, we need the word rosho, lidchais, to push off the love of lotakifu, to hakafas kol harosha shma hakafa, that it's necessary for him to shave his entire hair. V'amrinan pas kasav rachmana, we don't say it's only has to cut off, let's say, part of it. Hilkach ilav de Rabbi Kra, if it wasn't for the fact that this pasuk was extra, havamina lo leikuf, you would think that the metzora doesn't cut off his payas. Al mashmin and kra the aseh aseh v'daichelos aseh u'mahacha nafka. So we went out from here that an aseh is daichelos aseh, that we allow the metzora to cut his hair. Hilkach his payas. Hilkach israch alei l'meiser erev aliyavim. This is the whole point. This is the reason why I bring this down. We need to be able to have this drasha regarding answering the ereva to the yavam. Now, even though it's kares, which we're going to discuss, but stam, perhaps, as we said, without the pasuk, you would maybe think that there'd be a din yibum of chalitza even on your erva, because of aseh, the aseh of doing yibum is doicha the lois aseh. So we say no. So we're gonna end up saying no because of the pasuk. Without the pasuk, you'd say aseh is doichelos aseh. So we went up from the din of metzora that he has to shave off all of his hair. So for the Gemara, ikol mifrach malo lav the hakafa shechein lav shin shava b'koil. This is not something which is applicable to all. Says Rashi, the nashim inable lav hakafa. There's no chiyuv, as the Gemara at the end of the first paragraph of Masechtas Kedushin says, for women to cut or to leave their payos, the corners of their hair. There's no din. Taimer b'lav da achos isha to kashem shu muzer leha kachim muz heres alav dechsev hanafashos asois shneim b'mashma. So when it comes to the dinim of ereva, this is something in which applies to everyone. So you can't learn out this situation, even though, okay, you're fine, that an asay is doicha los asay, but it's a weak los asay, because the los asay, which is not shavah b'kol, because women themselves don't even have this mitzvah. So therefore, maybe that's why an asay is doicha los asay. Dafka in a situation where the los asay is weak. However, stam los asay, which is maybe stronger, maybe an asay is not doicha. So therefore, we're not going to be able to learn out from this. Okay. Ella asim zikanai. Rather, let's learn out from the beard. Says Rashi, Rabos Zakan Koyim Matzara, that when it comes to the Kohen who is a Matzara, and his beard, we're going to say the same thing. There's an issue about Takifu, and there's an issue about Tashchas. A person ought to shave off his payas or his beard. So the Sanya, to know that the Matzara has to cut off his beard. Person ought to shave off the beard, the corners. So Shmeani Av Kohen Matzara Kain. Maybe a Kohen Matzara also is not to shave off. Talmud Lorem is a Kanai. So you can say, well, that's also not Shavah Koil, because women are not Muchayiv in that either. Okay, but now we have two psukim which say the same thing. Therefore, we have an im inu inyan. Im inu inyan l'lav shen Shavah Koil, tenu inyan l'lav Shavah Koil. So as we already learned out, asay is doichelos asay by when it comes to payas, which is a lav, which is shein shavah b'koil. So now we can say this is even including something which is shavah b'koil, and therefore this is the drasha. Fine, v'akati itzrich, but we still need it. Sachadat ramina shani kohanim hoyel b'ribehen hakosam mitzvahs seris. So kohanim have numerous mitzvahs. I feel lav shein shavah b'koil lo dachi. So you think maybe even when it comes to lav shein shavah kol is not daicha kamashmulan the dachi. When we're talking about a kohen, that an asay is daicha los asay. So because we're talking about a kohen, which we're more strict. So maybe we're going to say that it's not going to work by a kohen. So therefore, you can't say im inu inyan, because here coming to teach us a chiddush by the kohen that it also applies to him. The Salchat that Ramina Shani Lav the Kohanim Chamir Shirib Hankasa Mitzvah Rabbi says Rashi Akati Lav Hashav Koil Manal the Dachi. Again, we don't have a drasha when it comes to a lav which is Shav B'Kol. El Asi Marosho the Hachtana. Rather, we're going to learn out Rosho from the following time the Stanya. Rosho Matam Loimer Lafishnemer Ta'ar Loyavor Al Roshoi. A person is not allowed to pass a razor over their skin to shave. Shomeani Af Mitzara of a Nazir cane. You would think that's the same din when it comes to a Mitzara Nazir, that he's also not allowed to pass over a razor. Talmud Lema Roishai. So we see over here, again, comes an Asay and his Daichel also say. Now, even though, again, Rashi says, Afalav the Lav Shin Shavah Bakolhu, the Inu Indian Lav Shin Shavah Bakol, the Hanakule Mizakano, the idach tan the taneu in the lav shavakol. So therefore we can again use this drasha. Fine. So he said, well, nazir is a problem. You tell me, so you're learning out from the din of a nazir. Says Rashi, but nazir asay velosa say ika tarlu savra roisho kodesh yegalo pera. So the question is, can you really learn out from here? This from the case of a Matzara Nazir. Ikol Mifrachman Lanazir Matzara Shachin Yesh Mishaela, says Rashi, Lishal Hachacham Viatela. Hilkach Asyase Vadachile. Because you could annul the vow, so it's not very strong. So therefore, maybe only over here will we say an Asay is Daichelos Asay, because the whole Nazirus could be removed by asking a chacham to do so. So therefore, maybe you can't learn out from there. If you don't say this, that which we said that an asay is not doicha alos asay and asay, you should be able to learn everything out from a nazir. But we don't learn out that drasha from a nazir. But why not? It's because Nazir is not something you can learn out from, because so because it has this special way of removing the whole issue to begin with by being mocked the neder with a chacham, so therefore it's not something you can derive for general application. So again, we're back to our question. So So why don't we learn out from there? That's the same reason. Because it's because of she'ela, you can't learn out an asay is doichelos asay. And also you can't learn out that ein asay doichelos asay v'asay. So how do we know, the shita of the Rabbanan, this notion, because they don't hold that when it comes to the tzitzis, semer pishin is mufna. So before we continue, let's look at question 9. B'metzarik v'galech es kol sa'aro, he has to shave all of his hair. Hari roish b'chlal. So obviously it's referring to his head. So imkein lama li the kasav rosho. Why does it say rosho? So either lahater hakavas harosh, laman diamar hakavas kol harosh shma hakafa, that you need to be able to actually shave all the hair, or lahater giluach l'metzara shehu nazir, to mater the shaving of metzora who is a nazir. So those are the two explanations or answers to this. Okay, let's look at question before we move on. TA 20. So it says like this. The Dirshu question is as follows: Eich mutter l'metzora lahakif pasarosh. How is he able to cut off his hair? Va'ikalav the baltakif. He's not allowed to do that. So there's two explanations. One is you have to kind of read between the lines. O mishum the hakafas kol rosh shloshma hakafa. Perhaps the hakafas rosh is not considered hakafa. So therefore, there's not this obligation. Oh, the alfin marosha the asay doichelos asay, as we said. So again, either you can hold the whole premise of the question is that hakafas kol harosh is shma hakafa, that the cutting of all the hair is the hakafa, which is mashim, you have to do it. But if you hold hakafas kol rosh lo shma hakafa, so in that situation, that's why it's mutal for the metzora to makif pas harosh. Okay, so that is TA 20. All right. So let's continue. Elul olam, as we continue Hamid Beis. Olam mikrakama. We're going back to our original pasuk, says Rashi, the kilayim betzitzis. The ka'armilu rabbanan lo yater hu semer pishtim. They don't have, it has to be mufna, and these words are not extra. So menohu the kilayim betzitzis shari delesi aseh v'dachilos aseh. How do we know? According to the rabbanan. So he says like this: there are other words in that pasuk which perhaps are extra. Im kein lemakrat tzitzis taselcha gedilim lamoli. Why does it mention the words gedilim shma min alef nuye? So that word is extra. I holy shiro hudasa. I thought the purpose of this is to tell us the minyan of chutin, the amount of strings. Gedil shnayim, gedilim arba. Gedil means there's 4 strings that are folded over. Asi gedil, you make knots. U poislehu mitaycho, and you hang strings. So this pasuk is necessary, this word, to tell us the amount of strings. So yim kein lemakra lo silba shatnis semer pishtin. Yachtav lamli. Why does it have to say the word yachtav? Shema min alef nuye. So the word yachtav is that which is mufna. Still, v'katmi boile, we still need that word. With toikif shtei techifos chibur, that when a person threads 2 of the threads, by threading 2 of the threads, that is an attachment. However, to kifa achas enu chibur. However, if you only do 1, that is not considered to be sufficient. It has to be the threading of 2 threads. Interesting, the word shatness is the extra word. Not necessarily. Which is the drasha of what the word shatness means. Some say, right here, shatness is actually a combination of 3 words. Shua tavu banuz, which is combed, spun, and woven together. Min ha-Torah, says Rashi, enu chayev ad shehu hatzemer v'hapishtan matuchan yachad hetev b'masrik. It has to be combed properly with a comb. Shua is lashon cholok, like it's smooth. News, orug, is woven. So it has to be these things, all three. It has to be combed, spun, and woven together. So Ella kula mishatnis nafka, as one word, and not that it's three words. So therefore, says Rashi, De'i lafnuye l'chud nichtav lo silbash kilayim. They should say kilayim. The lashon of shatnes barosh darish beinamiha. So this is the drasha. The fact that it uses this word comes to teach us the drasha. So therefore, whether it's according to the Rabbanan that the word shatnes is extra, or according to the opinion of the Tana Debei Rabbi Shmuel that Semer Pishtin is extra, regardless, we learn on Aseh is Deichelos Aseh Maskana from Tzitzis. Now, the question is, Ashkhan di Aseh v'Deichelos Aseh Greda. Fine. We find that an asay of wearing tzitzis is doicha the los asay of shatnez, but that's a los asay. Los asay sheish bo kares heich ashkechan dedachi the israch lemesra. Again, the situation. Let's go back to Yevamot. We're talking about why we needed a pasuk in order to be able to tell us that no, you're usher to have do chalitza yibum with your. With an ereva. Why would you need to know that? It's say to do yibum, great, but it's a losa say sheish bo kares. So how do we have a pasuk to support or some place that an asay is neichalosa say by kares? The v'chi teima neil memila. Maybe we can have from mila. For a person who doesn't do bris mila, there's an iser kares. So malo mila shechin nichrasu aleha sholosh esrei brisos. So maybe the reason why the asay is doichelos asay, even though the los asay is kares, that the asay, says Rashi, shedoicha asay shala, lois asay the Shabbos sheish kares. So it's actually not that if you don't do the bris milah, then you are chayav kares. It means that you're allowed to do a bris milah on Shabbos. Now, even though, why would you be allowed to do that? So, because an asay is doicha los asay, even though it has kares. Maybe the reason why you could do this is because bris is so chomer, it has 13 brisos. And because of that, maybe that's the exception why an asay is doicha los asay sheish bo kares. They can do a bris milah on Shabbos. So, Pesach. So we can actually learn out from Pesach that when it comes to Pesach, says Rashi, shedoicha shechitaso as the Shabbos, that you can shech the carbon Pesach on Shabbos, because the carbon is an asay to bring a carbon Pesach, and the los asay is sheish bo kares of doing it on Shabbos. Where it says, yeah, but malo Pesach shechein kares, malo Pesach shechein kares. That Pesach itself, if you don't do it, this is what I was talking about with the bris. So if you don't do the carbon Pesach, it's a chayav kares. So fine, there's a din kares on Shabbos, but if you don't bring the carbon Pesach, a chayav kares on that side. So you can't learn out from Pesach. So maybe matamid. Why don't we learn out from the din of bringing the carbon tamid? That the carbon tamid, which was brought in the base of Mikdash, so that was an asay as keves achad tasav boiker. So you're supposed to bring the carbon tamid. That's an asay, but there's a los asay of kares of violating Shabbos. So yeah, mal tamid shechein tadir. The reality is the reason why you could bring it on Shabbos is because you bring it every day. So therefore, when it comes to a carbon sibor, it's doicha Shabbos. So mechada lo asya. We can't learn out asay as doicha los asay sheish bo kares by any of these three. Not by Shabbos, not by Mila, and not by Talmud, because each of them are special. So maybe Tesi Matarti. So why don't we learn out two from and we can combine them. So Mehai Tesi, which one? Mila Pesach, maybe we want to compare the din of a Mila and Pesach, which are Doicha. These are Asays, which is Doicha los Asay. Yeah, but Shechein Kares. Both of them, again, if you don't do them, you're chayav kares. So maybe mepesach v'tamid, yabashachin sarach gavoa. Maybe the reason why we're leaning when it comes to Karban Pesach and by Tamid is because these are karbanos. Says Rashi, l'mizbech. Remember, the Masa di Yibum, the lake Kolhani, is not Sarach Gavoa. So Memila of a Tamid. Maybe we should compare and connect bris milah to the Tamid. Now, b'shchein yeshel lifnei adibor. That was done before Har Sinai. The Karban Tamid, and this is Gemara Chagiga. Was it the Oilus Re'iyah, the Oilus Tamid, the Machlokus over the Mishamis Hillel, whether or not it was brought before Har Sinai. So obviously, if it was done then, even before Makabel Torah mitzvahs, must be that it was extremely chomer, very, very important, that it was instituted even Lifnei Adibor. The Libanam di Oimer, Oila Shekriba Yisrael b'Midbar Oilus Tamid Habi. Again, this is according to that sheet that it was an Oilus Tamid that was brought before. The truth is, all three of them were Lifnei Adibor. Pesach, of course, we know, was before Matan Torah. The whole story took place in Mitzrayim. Bris Milah also was done. In order to do the bris milah, in order to be able to bring a Karban Pesach, you have to have a bris milah. And as we just mentioned, Talmud. So therefore, the fact that an aseh is daichel osaseh in those situations may not necessarily help the other cases. El itzrach. So maybe we would learn out from Kibbud Avim, the Sanya. We'll just begin this and we'll review it tomorrow. You would think that Kibbud Avim should actually push off Shabbos. In other words, if your parents in the Havamina tell you to do an Isser D'Oraisa on Shabbos, so you would think because there's an Aseh of your parents, listen to your parents, is a los Aseh sheish bokaris of violating Shabbos. Talmud ish ima v'aviv tira'u, yashabsoisi tishmaru. So the fact that it puts together that you have to fear your parents, but you also have to keep Shabbos. Kulchem chayavim b'chvaydi. Everyone's obligated to honor Hashem. So my love. So what was it that the parents said? Must be the armile. They said to you, shachatli, bashali, shech this animal or cook for me. Says Rashi, dehavi av malacha shechayavim lehakaris. So it's an asay of kibbud avim. There's a los asay of violating Shabbos sheish bokaris. And we need a pasuk. V'tayim dekasa rachmana and shabsas tishmaru. You need a pasuk to say, no, don't listen to them. You need to keep Shabbos. What's the diak? Halav hachidachi. Must be that if it wasn't for this pasuk, then it would be daicha. You would actually listen to your parents and break Shabbos, because an asay is daichalos asay sheish bokaris. So we're going to learn out the raya from Kibbud Avim, and let's just see the answer. Lo, as we continue on Vav Aleph, lav de machamer. It's actually, they're not telling you to violate an Issa D'Oraisa, because for that there wouldn't even be maybe not even a Havamina that you would be able to machal Shabbos mid'oraisa in order to listen to your parents without the pasuk. No, you wouldn't even. Maybe an asay is not doichelos asay sheish bokaris. So why do you need this pasuk? So Rashi says that's achar habehema. That let's say someone leading an animal shehu belav. They're telling you to violate a lav. The loisa say kamalacha ato vincha vehemtecha, that you have to not allow your animal to do work. With a high lav lekakaris, the loy abed ma'isa begufe. Since you didn't do the action with your own body, so therefore you're not going to be chayav karis. It's still obviously not to be done on Shabbos. However, hamachamer, someone who leads an animal, or someone who leads after an animal on Shabbos, so it quotes the Gemara, is potter. No, it's potter from potter of al-asr. It's potter from chatas. Potter means b'shogeg, you're potter from bringing a chatas, which is b'shogeg. Because when you're chayiv b'shogeg to bring a chatas, is b'meis is b'karis. So the fact that it says it's potter over here, there's no din karis. So maybe the only time you need this pasuk is by an asay is doichelos asay, but not an asay doichelos asay sheish bo karis. Okay, we're going to continue to discuss this at greater length. But we'll stop there. We'll see just a couple last questions over here. Question 10. Madua ein lilmoid mamila shadeicha Shabbos l'chol asay shadeicha los asay shvish bokaris. Kosev Liflochis Beis Svaros Mitoch Gimel. 3 answers. So either Mila Shechein Nichrosala Yud Gimel Brisos, or Mila Ba'atzmo has kares, or third, Sheish Yeshnu Lefnei Hadibor, it was done before it was done before Matan Torah. Okay. TB 19. Madua in limud asay deichelos aseshish bokoris b'matzah b'milo Pesach. So he said by Mila and Pesach they both have chorus themselves. How about Pesach v'Tamid? They're Legvoa. Mila v'Tamid. So he said when it comes to Mila and Tamid, they were Yishnu Lifnei Hadibor. Adkan.